Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick Anderson of Madison Maximized Living. There are few things more frustrating than going to bed when you're tired, not sleeping well, and then waking up tired. This is a common theme for many Americans every day. That feeling of being worn out, tired, exhausted, and run down are symptoms of a body not functioning properly. There are multiple causes of chronic fatigue. Many of them can be addressed by natural means, including sleep hygiene, improving nutrition, addressing adrenal exhaustion, GI imbalance, inflammation, and toxicity, just to name a few. Join co-host Stacy Hansen and myself as we discuss overcoming fatigue, coming up next.
Welcome back to Maximized Living with Dr. Patrick Anderson. We're talking about overcoming chronic fatigue today, and it's something that plagues a lot of people. I hear people talking about it all the time. I'm just so tired. But what's the difference between maybe chronic fatigue and just being tired?
Well, everyone gets tired sometimes, but usually a good night's rest will make a difference and you come back. But when you don't feel restored at the end of the day, or when you get up in the morning, or you're tired all the time, or moody, or headachy, or sore throat, some of these things, there can be chronic fatigue syndrome going on, and it's about 1 in 5 people have it.
Really, 1 in 5 people. So there's definitely a few people at this station that have it.
Yes.
Definitely. So it's out there, and probably many of you. So what are some of the signs and symptoms that it's really causing?
Well, you can get impaired memory. You can get an unusual headache, sore throats. You can get multiple joint pain, muscle aches, post-exertion malaise, where you're just really wiped out by exercise. Things like that are really common with chronic fatigue.
So some of the things you can kind of look for. So what's a good way to kind of look at it? How would you characterize it?
Well, chronic fatigue syndrome is one way it's called, but it's really best to look at it as a symptom. There's something else going on wrong in the body, and that's causing a serious fatigue or chronic ongoing fatigue.
So what are some of these underlying causes then? There's a lot of people out there that have them. What's causing this?
You know, there's a myriad of things that can cause fatigue. One of them is nutritional deficiency. 9 out of 10 people have a nutritional deficiency, and just deficient in one nutrient could cause fatigue.
Oh, so it could put you over the end.
Yeah, but so often they could be the B complexes or the amino acids or essential fatty acids or a probiotic imbalance, CoQ10. So a lot of different things, magnesium and zinc, all those can be affecting fatigue. So that's just one of many, is the nutritional aspect. Another one is mitochondrial dysfunction.
Wow, that sounds serious.
Yes. And mitochondria, there's 100 to 200 mitochondria in each cell. They're the powerhouse of our cell, highly concentrated in active tissue like the brain. And they're powerhouses. They produce ATP, which is our energy source. But often we can be nutritionally deficient or toxic, and the mitochondria don't work well. So supporting our mitochondria is very important to energy and production. Not being fatigued.
That's definitely one I wouldn't have thought of. Yeah. It goes down to that cellular level.
Need to detoxify, possibly from heavy metals, possibly from poor bowel issues where you have diarrhea or constipation. Could be heavy metal mercury or lead or aluminum or cadmium. So those can be tested. And just another one called advanced glycation end products. This is hard on energy levels. It's hard on mitochondria. AGEs are actually the charred or fried part. When you char steak, it's the dark charred part of the steak. Those are high in AGEs, and that's hard on our energy levels often.
Wow.
Whether detoxifying that as being helpful.
So there's so many things. It could just be the way you're grilling your steak.
Yeah. There are things like that. Hormone imbalance. So, you know, your cortisol levels, your thyroid, your sex hormones, those can really influence your energy level and fatigue.
So there's so many more. I have a sense that there's more coming too.
Yes.
So we'll come back to this after the break, and then we'll start giving you some ideas on how you can overcome the fatigue that you're having. Stay with us. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv. Welcome back to Maximize Living with Dr. Patrick Anderson. We're talking about overcoming chronic fatigue today, and we've discovered so far that it's extremely common among people. So you definitely know somebody in your life. You said 1 in 5, right?
1 in 5
Americans.
have severe fatigue, but most people will have fatigue sometime in their life or a period in their life for quite a while.
So definitely a good topic to be talking about. Right now we're talking about some of the underlying causes because it is so common. We're just kind of trying to delve into.
And it's complex, multifactorial.
So we've talked about some of the things here, nutritional deficiency, some things is mitochondrial dysfunction, some of these things, and there's a lot more you've got too to talk about.
We talked about detoxing, hormone imbalance, but we look at gastrointestinal dysfunction, GI imbalance. You can have food sensitivities, that you eat foods and you don't necessarily have an allergy to, but you're sensitive to it, and that can fatigue you if you're having a lot of those. You can have imbalance in your flora, intestinal flora. That can affect your energy levels and your digestion. You could have poor digestion because you aren't breaking down meats properly or handling fats properly. All those can fatigue you. So that's GI balance. Another one is immune dysfunction. So if you have the flu, we're all familiar with having the flu and being dog-tired all the time.
Right.
But some people have chronic low-grade infections going on, and that's causing fatigue. Or they could have Lyme's disease. Anyone with Lyme's knows how much fatigue goes with that. So infections cause fatigue. Sleep disturbance. So 1 in 3 people don't sleep well on any given night, and that's a big deal. If you have sleep apnea, that's huge. It needs to be managed medically and with weight loss and things like that. But sleep disturbance will make you very tired too because you're not waking up restful from that. And inflammation. Inflammation is one. The standard American diet, the SAD diet, is highly inflammatory because it's bad fats and bad proteins and too high in carbohydrates. And it robs us of energy, and it causes a lot of inflammation in our bodies, in our guts, and our joints. And so the inflammation, dealing with that properly is very important. And here's a big one that I don't even like to mention as a chiropractor, but medications. It's amazing how many people are fatigued from the medication they take. You take benzodiazepines for anxiety or antihistamines. Everyone's familiar with that one. Or antipsychotics, diuretics, antibiotics, antidepressants, blood pressure medications, statins. All these drugs are, common everyday use, can really affect energy level. I just had a patient come in who's taking a drug for his prostate, and he was always full of energy, and all of a sudden the lights went out on him. He's just tired all the time now. So hopefully he'll find some alternatives with that. Other conditions too that will cause fatigue in the psychiatric area. Depression, anxiety will cause fatigue, stress, or grief. Grief is a big one. Health conditions, cardiac conditions, pulmonary lung conditions, and cancer will all cause fatigue. So as you look across all these things that cause fatigue, it's a wonder that anyone isn't fatigued.
That's what I was
In fact,
just
that's the
thinking.
#1 complaint, sick and tired.
Right. So it's just, there's so many things. So if you are feeling excessively tired, this is worth getting checked out because you could have something serious going on.
And it's usually multifactorial because the American lifestyle isn't all that good. We don't do very many things right that way when it comes to that. And one of the big things too is a structural imbalance. If you have forward head posture, you're wasting, your head's 10 pounds heavier all day long. How would you like to carry along a 20-pound backpack or a 30-pound backpack on your back all day long? Well, that's what structural imbalance, subluxation or misalignment does to your body. You're wasting tons of energy when you have that. Dehydration. Most people are dehydrated. Well over 75% are dehydrated, and that can really affect energy level. In fact, if you lose as little as 2.5% of your body weight in water weight,
Yeah.
You'll lose 25% of your mental function and energy.
Wow, so that's huge.
Yeah. So being well hydrated obviously is going to help everyone function better, work out better, perform better in sports.
So maybe start now by drinking a glass of water.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't get to drink a whole quart. You can't absorb it all.
Little by little.
And then lack of movement. Some people are just plain tired, not because they've been at it so long, as much as they just undermoved. And to get moving again, you can recharge and get a lot more energy again.
So maybe stand up, move around, and get a drink of water during the break. We'll be right back with more on overcoming your chronic fatigue. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv. Welcome back to Maximize Living with Dr. Patrick Anderson. We're talking today about overcoming your chronic fatigue. We've talked about some of the underlying causes, and really it's a wonder that we're all not chronically fatigued.
Yeah.
There's so many issues that could be causing it. You know, really being tired could be a sign that something's wrong. So you want to get down to the bottom of it. You want to see what's going on. How do you get some answers?
Well, really it starts with a thorough case history to see what the person's lifestyle is and when they're having trouble. And some handy health appraisal questionnaires can be done. It takes about 45 minutes to answer hundreds of questions. And it actually, we can chart how a person is doing in different body systems, looking something like this, where we would see different body systems above that red line are a high priority of having issues. So you can chart body systems by an extensive case history and health appraisal questionnaire. Also, we'll ask questions on potential yeast. Yeast would be one of the overgrowth, could be one of the problems for the infection side of it. A stress test. This is really good to tell a lot about stress, to take a stress identity stress test. And that tells us about the fatigue that you're having as it relates to stress. Another one is a metabolic detoxification questionnaire. So another is insulin resistance, which is such a problem. So many people are in metabolic syndrome where they're pre-diabetic. So answering some of these questions can really help pick up if you're having those kind of issues.
That's interesting too, that you can kind of drill down and find out where you even want to start testing, where you want to start looking.
Mm-hmm.
So what kinds of then actual testing can be done once you kind of get a sense of that?
Yeah, there's some fairly simple tests. One is called orthostatic blood pressure. So if you ever sit down and you get up quickly and you feel yourself like you're going to pass out, that's often from adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion, because your splanchnic blood pressure, your abdominal blood pressure, can't hold up if the adrenals aren't functioning well. So when you stand up, blood rushes from your head and you feel faint. So there's a test where we'll take your blood pressure when you're lying down and then stand up and take it right away. If it drops 5 to 10, that's a problem.
That's a problem, wow.
It should actually go up when you stand up some. And there's a Barnes basal temperature test where you just take a thermometer and put it in your axilla and test your temperature. It shouldn't be below 97.6 after a 3-day average. If it's below 97.6, you potentially could have subclinical hypothyroid issues.
Wow.
So some of that's really easy. There's a zinc tally test. Zinc is a really important mineral. It's involved in hundreds of reactions. And the zinc tally test is just sip this liquid. And if it doesn't taste bitter, you're deficient in zinc.
Really?
Yeah. It's called a zinc tally test. So that's really kind of a fun, quick test to see. And then iodine stain, here's one. Iodine, Dr. Brownstein, who has a natural health newsletter that I follow, he says that so many people are low on iodine, almost everybody. And so you put a couple drops of iodine on your forearm, and it should stay there more than 6 hours. Put a Band-Aid over it. And a stain should stay there more than 6 hours. If you absorb it all, you're probably low on iodine.
Wow, you can absorb that through your skin.
Yeah, so those are some of the kind of fun tests that you can do pretty quickly, and then we get into some of the lab testing.
Yeah, so go into some of the lab testing. How far can we go with this?
There's a lot of stuff out there that people aren't even aware of in lab testing. We have your general CBC, where you can look at your white blood cell count and your liver, kidney function, your glucose levels. But there's some more advanced testing that looks at byproducts in your urine and blood spot fatty acid analysis in your blood. Tells you about how your fatty acid metabolism. There's micronutrient profiles, so you can see how your blood chemistry is deficient. Most people don't realize that they could be eating enough, but it's not getting through. They're not absorbing and assimilating it. So they could be low in something and need more. So this tells you how it's functioning in your body, different nutrients. You can do food sensitivity profile, a hormone profile. Obviously, vitamin D is huge. There's Dutch cortisol level testing to see how your cortisol level patterns are during the day. And lipoprotein particle testing, particle number testing. So we hear of high cholesterol, and HDL is the good cholesterol, reparative cholesterol. The LDL is the bad stuff, but there's very small lipoproteins, very small ones, and there's, you want to keep that number down. So there's testing to test another 6, 8, 10 factors of LDL. It can really be helpful in fatigue and energy.
Yeah, who knew how many tests were available out there? Well, stay with us. We'll have more on overcoming chronic fatigue. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv. Welcome back to Maximize Living with Dr. Patrick Anderson. We're talking today about overcoming chronic fatigue, and I was amazed at how many tests are available out there. You know, I'd heard of getting your iron tested, maybe your thyroid, but there's a whole litany of tests out there.
There are so many other tests that's a really burgeoning field, is the laboratory testing to find out more, digging deeper.
You can really get some answers. So if you do find that you've got something wrong, where do you even start on trying to fix this?
Well, you look at what those tests tell you, and that'll guide you in certain directions, but there's some real general things. Number one, get a chiropractic checkup and look to see if you have structural imbalance, because that's going to improve your digestion, your elimination, your muscle function, spasm, pain, which all cause fatigue. So that's a good way to jumpstart your system. And then it's easier to do all the other things as you sleep better from your adjustments and things like that. So that's number one. Get moving. Get moving. Often we're tired, so we think somehow that more sleep is good, and yet we end up getting undermoved and understimulated, which causes more fatigue. The problem is with chronic fatigue, you just don't feel like going at all.
It's going to be hard to
And
make
it's
that first
actually
step.
true, if you work out too hard, you're going to make yourself worse. So it's finding that happy medium with the workout, not too little, not too much. There's something.
Maybe start slow, kind of build it up.
Real slow for some.
Yeah.
And that's where good advice. Going on a detox, we use daily detox in our office. It's a nutrient system that boosts glutathione, which is the most powerful antioxidant in the body. So get detoxing, resting the digestive system to improve it can be really helpful. Eliminate. This is the hardest one, the elimination section. You know, coffee, alcohol, sugar, gluten, dairy, tobacco, soda, and look at your medications to see what might be causing issues and see if there's alternatives. But that's the hardest thing to do, is eliminate some of that stuff, because we get so addicted to it. But the funniest thing is, once you get off it, you don't miss it at all.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm
There is
cutting
life
out
after
sugar
gluten.
right now.
Yeah.
But it's hard to cut out sugar. Read your ingredients. You wouldn't believe how many things it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to replace it with dark chocolate or honey.
Yeah. At
Things
least
like
have
that.
something,
Stevia.
that you'd really enjoy.
Yeah. Increase water. That can be a simple thing to do. Again, just increase hydration. Alkalinize your body with fruits and vegetables so we don't get or too acidic. And that causes inflammation. So alkalinize with fruits and veggies, not just sugar and flour and gluten and dairy. Those tend to be pretty acidic.
Interesting.
So that'll help a lot. Add the essential supplements. Just about everybody needs vitamin D. And you can get your levels tested. It's hard to raise your levels, actually. Just about everybody needs omega-3s. And probiotics is that imbalance. So add those essential supplements and a good multi. Because 9 out of 10 Americans are deficient. You know, like we said earlier, only one deficiency is needed to cause fatigue.
To cause all that trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And then add some specialized supplements from their lab testing, from their review of symptoms. It could be enzymes, it could be iodine, zinc, magnesium, protein powder, things along that line. The next one would be changing your oil is one of my favorite things. Change
you don't
your
mean
oil.
the car, right? I'm guessing.
Change your oil. You might need to do that too. But think about the oils you're putting in your body. And the healthy ones are olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, grape seed oil. And the bad ones are all the things that chips are made in, the corn oil and the safflower oil. And you'd think it would be healthy, but they're not. They're high in omega-6s, which are really inflammatory to the body, for the heart, for the cells, and it's really bad for your body. And the trans fats.
Yeah.
So those oils are destructive
Cut
to the
off
body.
the chips.
Yeah. Well, there's some good alternative chips out there. I like Early July. Most health food store will have those.
Okay.
They're pretty good.
Good tip.
Improve overall quality of your nutrition. So people aren't really eating grass-fed beef. Sometimes it doesn't taste as well, and that's because it's not processed right. So you got to find the right grass-fed beef producer. And then free-range chicken, without hormones, and then wild-caught fish. You know, it's going to be much healthier. So improve the quality of your nutrition. And that's buying more organic as well.
So really got to be reading those labels too, and just knowing what you're putting into your body.
And then lastly, increase your antioxidants, because that causes aging and fatigue. So some of the best food antioxidants are blueberries, pecans, dark chocolate, green tea. Spices could be clove, cinnamon, turmeric, black pepper.
Okay.
And there's a few supplements that are really powerful. Astaxanthin, vitamin C, alpha-lipoic acid, and turmeric.
There's that turmeric again too.
Yes.
We've been talking about that a lot lately. So definitely want to check into some of those. Stay with us. We'll have more right after the break. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.
Thank you for watching our show on overcoming chronic fatigue. Fatigue and chronic fatigue can be complex issues involving multiple systems in the body. I hope you have learned today that there are many natural things that can be done that can improve your quality of life and increase your energy. Nobel Prize-winning researcher Dr. Roger Sperry discovered that 90% of the brain's energy output was to hold your posture upright. Forward head posture, slumping, and curvatures waste a lot of energy and cause fatigue and wear and tear. That's why it's critically important for every man, woman, and child to have a chiropractic checkup and assess their structure and nervous system function. Call 608-833-1282 for a chiropractic checkup today. For Maximize Living, I'm Dr. Patrick Anderson. Until next time, live well and God bless.